If you could live a life on your own terms with no money worries, no responsibilities, how would you really, really live your life? How would you spend each day? Where would you be living? What would you be doing? That's what I want to talk about in today's episode. As I'm getting ready for Best Year Yet, which is our annual event, which is running in January. What date is it starting? I cannot remember. It's kind of the middle of January. I've decided to push it back a little bit later than it usually is because last year I remember it being a bit stressful when I was off over Christmas and the children are still off school. So I've pushed it back a little bit. So I think it's like the 15th of January, but I'll put a link below this and you can go and check that out. It's a free event. It's amazing. I love it. And it's a time to really think about the question that I just asked you. And I'm asking myself. And so when we live our lives with responsibilities, family, jobs, children, possibly relationships, we can then lose sight of our real desires and what we really would like to do, be, have, or be placed in our lives, and get derailed by other people's opinions. This is definitely something that I'm exploring myself, which is why I wanted to ask you to think about it, because I have just bought a house, and I love that I've just bought a house. But it brings now responsibilities and pressure, and which is okay. But I do ask myself, why? Why have I done that? And I know it's sensible. And now I've got an investment in property. And one day when it's paid off, I'll be able to hand it down to Morgan and Isaac. And from that point of view, it's really sensible. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't have bought a house because I'm really glad that I did. But I'm just asking a question of myself of why? Why? And this feeling now that, oh my gosh, I feel a little bit pressured and not trapped, but I just feel like, wow, this is a big commitment. That's the right word. It's a commitment, isn't it? And then it's just got me thinking how, if I'm not careful, that can start to limit my thinking and action taking. And so what I've started to really think about recently is if I was going to scrap my life and start again, what would I be doing? And I think this is such a hard question to ask when you do have responsibilities, because you've got to trick your brain and answer in a moment without your brain coming in or going, but what about your children? What about your family? What about this? What about that? And so when I ask it of myself, like if I could just start again, what would I be doing? The first thing that comes into my head is travel. I would be traveling more. I used to just hop on planes by myself and go places and do things out of the house more and go places. And so I think that's probably one of the things. And the reason that I don't do that so much anymore is because of the cost. I've got children, they've got school, we've got responsibilities. And now the house and it feels more fixed now. And what I was thinking was I'd really like the flexibility to just go, we're just going to go to live in Australia for a few weeks. And when I really get honest with myself around why I set up United Art Space in the beginning, was freedom. And freedom to me back then was very simple in that I just want to spend each day the way I want to spend it, especially because of my mental health. So some days I get up and I literally can't function. My head is spinning out of control. I can barely string a sentence together. I just think if I was employed on days like that, and I have many of them, I would be useless. I would be absolutely useless. And so for me, freedom is massive. And one of the other things is I like to get up in the morning. And some, I have set things. I have to take the children to school, but some days I'll wake up, and this is my ADHD brain. I will wake up and I'll be like, I'm gonna paint all the doors in the kitchen. And I've got things to do that day, but I cannot help it. I have to go and paint the doors. And it's like an impulsive, obsessive thing. I can't do anything else until I've painted the kitchen doors, and I will get up and paint the kitchen doors. So it might be, I get up and I'm like, I've got to go and hike this morning. I've got to go clean out the wardrobe. It'll just be like some random thing, and I can't let it go. It's almost like painful to let it go. And then when I've done it, I feel fulfilled. And then I can think. But in that moment, I can't think about anything else. It's really strange. And so over the years, I felt really paranoid about that and broken as a person, but now I embrace it and I laugh at myself. And it's a really nice place I've got to, actually. But part of being that person with that brain is having the freedom to wake up in the morning and being able to do that, and to just to just be. And I feel so fortunate that I can do that in this moment in time. And I'm here because I've created it. That was what I wanted more than anything. And so for me, freedom, I've got to that point. And so now I'm kind of like playing around with the boundaries of freedom. And okay, so I do that now. I get up and I spend each day the way I want to. So how can I expand that a little bit more now? How can I push the definition of freedom to me a little bit further? And what would that look like? And I think if I was going to be really honest with myself, it would be traveling more. And then if I'm really, really honest with myself, then I close my eyes and I can see a life where the children aren't at school, they're being homeschooled, we get on a plane and we hop around places, and I'm working and they're part of my work and they're part of meeting the people that I go traveling and all the amazing people we have in our community, and they come with me and meet these amazing people. And that is kind of, I think, me being honest with myself. And here's the thing, sometimes, and I'll say this throughout my life, sometimes I had these visions of like, oh, wouldn't this be amazing? And then when you do it, you're like, oh, actually, it's not amazing, is it? But I am a believer in, unless we try it, then we don't know. And so I am very mindful of the fact that I might, spend a few weeks next year, and this is what I'm going to do. Spending a few weeks next year trying this out, and it might just be really stressful. And I think, do you know what? Actually, I like just being at home. I like being at home, but it's almost like, yeah, for me, it's just like trying it. So I sometimes have these big visions, like this is it. The kids aren't at school. We're going all over the place. And some people can just jump into, right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to pack my job in, take the kids out of school, and I'm going to live this life. Whereas I'm a more of a transition. I'll just dip my toe in. Maybe when the school holidays, we'll go places, we'll test it out and we'll see, and we'll grow into it. And I think that's what I'm going to do next year, is to start to just like take those little steps forwards. And this is what I love about Best Year Yet, the workshops that I run, because it's all about that. It's identifying the big vision in your mind and bringing it back into the smallest, tiniest little step. Like, what can I do now to start to implement those little desires that I have and the way I'd like to live my life? And that's how I got this house that I'm in now. I had a big house in my head, like, oh, I want this big house and I want it all to be open plan, and I'm not in that house, but I'm in a house that actually 10 years ago would have been like, this house is beyond my wildest dreams. And I think because I thought bigger, I got a few steps forward. And so, and I might never get that big house. It might not be about the big house in my head, but that was the flag in the ground to get somewhere. And so it's really interesting. I want to go back to the money thing. I've just thought of something really quickly that I talked about in last week's episode about money. And one of the things that they talked about, which I forgot to mention in last week's episode, was the incremental changes that you make in your life. And so, and I did this when I had no money. I hadn't got a job. I was really struggling to pay for food. It was a really bad time. I remember reading about these incremental changes, because when you feel so poor and you feel like, oh, I can't spend this and I can't do this and it's really horrible, that if you just do some like incremental changes where you just save up and buy yourself something nice, or you treat yourself. And for me, it was going out for afternoon tea. I could not afford to go out for afternoon tea, but I did, because it was in that moment of being afternoon tea, I felt like I had abundance and I felt like I had a different life than what I was actually living. And there's this theory that, you know, you start to trick the brain and the brain goes, oh, we do have more, you know, instead of just living in complete poverty mindset and deprivation. So, and the same for goals. I think sometimes just tiny little steps towards them, you start to feel that, yeah, I'm getting there. And so, and it feels so far-fetched for me to think about that life of the children and I going traveling, and it feels so extravagant and expensive and like, and also quite stressful, because I actually do get quite stressed traveling with the children. But it's something I kind of want to just try and just get it out of my system. So I'm planting it out in the universe on my vision board for next year to maybe do that. And I have no idea how I'm going to make it happen, but unless I put the flag in the ground, it's never going to happen. So anyway, there'll be a link down here if you want to wait to join up for Best Year Yet. If you want to join the wait list, the link is below. I'd love you to join us, and all the details will be on that page. And yeah, have a think about, how would you really live your life? Some things to think about are, what would you be, do, have? Where would you live? How would you spend your days? Who would you be surrounded by? What's important to you? And really thinking about that without any limitations. Like, what would you, yeah, how would it look? Leave that thought with you, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.